Welcome to GOLT Talk, your podcast for technology and innovation in the legal profession. If you're searching for solutions to revolutionize your legal practice, you're in the right place. 10 minutes pure, actionable product insights from CEOs shaping the future of legal technology. And here is your host, Pfennig.
Welcome to GOLT Talk, your podcast for innovation and technology in the legal and compliance space. My name is Pfennig and I am your host today. I welcome Raymond Lum, CEO of Rajah Tann Technologies. Welcome, Raymond.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you for taking the time. We have a very compact format with the GOLT Talk podcast. I appreciate you as the CEO of Rajah Tann Technologies joining us and our viewers today. Tell us a little bit about the very unique setting of Rajah Tann Technologies and yourself as the CEO.
Sure. So as an introduction, Rajah Tann is a leading law firm in Asia, right, or across 10 countries. Rajah Tann Technologies is a wholly owned subsidiary of Rajah Tann. Right? It's been incorporated in 2017 and as a wholly owned subsidiary is looking at technologies around supporting legal compliance, litigation support, and so on and so forth. And over the years, we've pivoted quite a few times, as with all technology companies since its founding. And currently, our mainstay offering is digital risk management advisory services that we offer to our clients. And this is where we play best, right? Because we are at the technology, we are the forefront of technology, and because we are owned by a law firm, we leverage on that heritage and we play best at the intersection of legal, the law, regulations, compliance, and technology to assist our clients to make it as painless as possible for all their compliance needs. And if anybody wants to come to Asia to do business, we are the one-stop shop where you can drop by and we'll be able to say that, well, if you're involved in 5 countries in Asia, we are able to advise you on the type, based on your business, types of rules and regulations, the laws that you need to comply. And if you do not already have, develop a policy that is relevant to Asia. And at the same time, if you need to do compliance, what sort of technology that you need, if you don't already have them, we are able to assist in those areas.
Fantastic. So best of both worlds, if I can say so. The tech side covered and the legal and compliance side covered under one roof, the Rajah Tann brand, with you, the tech guys, supplementing the traditional legal services. You yourself, Raymond, are a business person, as I know. So also in that combination, having lawyers and people with operational background combined is also a unique offering. Just maybe a few words about yourself and your qualifications.
Sure, thanks, Tom. Yeah, so I'm trained as an engineer. I've practiced as an engineer. I started life as a construction engineer. I moved on to tech and I did tech. In terms of tech, I did operations and I did about 17 years of mergers and acquisitions around in the tech sector as well for tech companies. And then I moved on to Rajah Tann, and that's where I'm doing digital risk management, right? And obviously the experience around various industries, various companies that I work with, and mergers and acquisitions where it is very rule-based. You got to understand the law, you got to understand the regulations, you got to understand the business. And obviously along the way, I've got myself as a chartered as an accountant, so that I have a certain sensitivity to financial numbers and so on, and that actually helps me along the way to run businesses, to be able to develop business models, and to assist actually Rajah Tann Technologies in pivoting into new areas and so on. Yeah, to build the business.
And that gives me a great segue into the portfolio assessment. I think given your background in a legal environment with an engineering expertise is really unique. And what would be the typical mandate if I was bringing Rajah Tann Technologies either into my law firm or into my in-house practice? Where would you come in and what would be the service beyond the policy drafting, the tech assessment, or maybe combined, that I would ultimately receive from you?
Okay, so a law firm, I know that you mentioned law firm is specific, but a law firm is also a business, right? It's an advisory business. So if I were to take a step to cast the net a bit wider for enterprises, right? Whether you're in retail, whether you're in accounting, whether you're in business consulting or trading and so on and so forth, right? If I were to take a step back, we talk about in every business, there's always a risk component, a risk element, which is important. And this is especially important if you're in a highly regulated industry, which a law firm is in a highly regulated industry, or you are a large enterprise where you're a publicly listed company, right? Where you have audit committee, you have risk committees, and so on and so forth. Right? So the way we are able to assist the clients, again, is when you talk about risk, you always filter down to compliance, you always filter down to rules and regulations. And then you says that, okay, what is, if the risk I'm unable to accept, I'll reject the risk, right? Or risk that I'm able to pass down to somebody else, I'm able to accept the business, or either that, or I accept the risk and I mitigate the risk and have a small residual risk, right? So there's a 3 ways to handle the risk components, right? And that's where the compliance comes in. If you so do accept the risk, what kind of risk you accept, the policies will be able to dictate that, and how do you mitigate the risk, and using the use of technology to help you to mitigate those risks, right? And that's why we play best.
And the ideal client, just to make sure that the audience gets it, is an enterprise, most likely not necessarily only the legal team of that enterprise, but the whole function of different services within a corporation that would come to you after a decision has already been made to deploy technology? Or would you already come in earlier before a decision is being made and help also with the selection of tech tools?
That's a fantastic question. Ideally, we are being engaged at the outset, then we are able to assist the client to journey through, to say that how do we are able to provide them with a framework to how to manage the risk, right? But life is never perfect. So many a times when the legal department or the risk department or the head of internal audit or even the C-suite may reach out to us when they are facing the risk. They've already accepted the risk, they're already operating in those environment, and then they come to us and say that how do I manage this? Whether is it, if I were to further define the risk, right? So there are the various type of risk. Popular topic around the internet or the news is actually cybersecurity. You're talking about data protection, right? How do you manage the data? You're talking about operational risks, right? You're talking about the people where we need to do training. And that also involves forensics, because we assist HR department or legal department that's doing investigations in various risky behaviors of the staff, whether is it money laundering or whether is it corruption and so on and so forth. So we work alongside with that, and obviously we work very closely with our law firm, because the last thing the board and management wants to hear about are all the technical responses from the tech guys, right? So all they want to hear about is, number one, what is my exposure, right? What's my exposure to the regulators? What's my exposure to my customers? What's my exposure to my suppliers and partners and so on? And all those involve contracts and so on. So that kind of gels very well with us. We play very well in this area, because we will always be able to bring in our legal experts to work alongside with us to be able to, you can say in a way, translate whatever our technical findings and technical issues into the compliance and regulatory risk.
Can you give me one example of a technical risk that you have mitigated in your practice?
Yes, one of the very good example, which actually we won some awards on that, which is the anti-money laundering platform, right? Business that we actually started, right? It's not new. It's not a new business. So for decades, AML systems has been around, and they serve mostly the financial sectors, right? Or regulated sectors, help companies to be able to check on the background to say whether an individuals or the company that they're dealing with is on the sanction list or has criminal sanctions and so on, right? So, or financial crimes for that matter. So there was a change in law in particular Singapore about 2 years ago 2.5 years ago, that all real estate transactions in Singapore, you will need to do AML checks. And when we looked at that and we says that should we get to this business or not, and so on, and the developers came to us to say, hey, the traditional solution for AML check does not work for us. So and one of the reasons is because traditionally when you subscribe to AML systems, it's actually based on seats, based on user licenses. But as the local, when we look at the operations on how do they sell the condominiums or apartments and so on and so forth, there'll be hundreds, if not thousands of people flooding the showroom, and they are actually buying the apartments. And if you were to do the AML check, the entire value chain, or at least the workflow, kind of gets stuck, right? So you're unable to purchase on the spot. And the last thing the developer wants is the buyer, in the heat of the moment when they're about to purchase, you ask them, please go home, let me do the checks and please come back, right? Because they may just go next door and buy a different apartment if somebody else can do it faster, right? So what we did was that we took a solution and we actually offered an unlimited user accounts so that everybody at the front line are able to do the AML checks. And this proved to be popular, and we are one of the major players in the AML checks in the market, right? So this is just an example of how we are able to look at the market requirements and to be able to customize a solution to help the developers to mitigate the risk as well as complying to the laws and regulations.
Right. So this is really involving a tech solution as part of the service being developed or co-created with a client, assessed from a legal and compliance and data privacy and other angle, and then deployed at scale. Great example.
Exactly. And technology is only a means to an end, right? Because the business requirement is very, very important. How do they run the business? How do they operate the business? We need to understand that in order to assist clients in their risk mitigation process.
Shifting to partners and competitors, because that's part of our format as well, and the audience would like to know, who are you competing against, but more importantly, who are you working with? I'm sure with IT enterprise solutions, there is no issue. ServiceNow, Oracle, SAP, Microsoft. Maybe one or two more examples if you have, or a competitor that you have come across either in Asia or globally.
Sure. I think that's a very good question. So we are focused on professional services, right? Very much. Pretty product and solutions agnostic. But having said that, we do curate and carry certain products to be able to offer to our clients for the client's purpose. Unless the client comes to us and says, hey, look, I just want to purchase your professional services and I have my own product. We say, that's great, right? Let us evaluate the product. If it's fit for purpose, go ahead and use it, no issue. But if there are clients who says that, look, Raymond, I'm not familiar with the products, can you recommend certain curated products for us? And we will do that. So for example, in our forensics and investigation services, we do partner with the leading players like Magnet, like for example, Celebrite, and so on and so forth. And we bundle in with our professional services to assist our clients in their investigations. In the AML, we work with companies like Australian Product Principle, it's called MemberCheck, and we are able to offer the solution to our clients as well. And obviously along the way, like what I mentioned, it's not the product, it's not the technology. These are just two examples, right? So there's various other examples. The important part is actually the professional services that we offer to assist clients to make sure that they are able to comply. In terms of competitors, well, when we talk about risk advisory, I guess for most enterprises, the first few companies that come to mind are the big four accounting firms. They've been around for a long time. They're very well established. In fact, I will use the word unusual for a law firm to have a subsidiary that's a tech arm to provide risk advisory, right? It's quite unusual. But this is quite strange to me, because the person who can interpret risk best, especially in a highly regulated environment, are the lawyers. So, I mean, nothing against accountants. I'm an accountant myself, right? So, but if logically speaking, the lawyers are best to interpret the law and the regulations, and therefore compliance, and therefore your policy, to help you to develop the policy. And I believe that this combination of having a team of technologists that focuses on compliance, in the past they call it RegTech, but now it's broader than RegTech. It includes AI as well. And then we work hand in hand with, hand in glove, in fact, with the lawyers to provide a one-stop solution for the client will be the best choice. In fact, just an anecdote, when we recommend certain solutions, when the client comes to us to recommend certain solution, we recommend to them. And the first question they ask is that if I use this technology in the way that you tell me that I use it, am I in compliance to the regulations and law? Right? So that's the first question. And obviously for us, because we are already working with the lawyers for the advisory, we says, well, if you like to, we can provide you with a legal opinion. So that's always on the table for them. Yeah. So there's a key differentiator that we have.
Yes, excellent. Just from a transparency and openness perspective, I know you guys are really number one in Asia Pacific. I came across one similarly structured combination of a law firm and a legal tech arm, but I think from a competitive perspective, you have your client base built out for many, many years, and you are in this region of the world the number one.
In fact, I sincerely hope that there are more law firms that take this approach, expand into tech to expand the offering to the clients. And I think it's great for the marketplace. And I think it's great for enterprises to be able to assist them to mitigate the risk, right? So I think because we can't cover the market, the Asian market is huge, right? And many companies operating in this region that includes multinationals, companies coming from Europe, companies coming from US, and the European companies that have presence in Asia, they have to comply with the EU laws as well. So whether is it GDPR or whether is it all kinds of law that their headquarters are being under the regulated, is they are listed, they have another set of regulations, right? So and I think having a law firm to be able to offer this solution for them, I think it's great for the marketplace.
Would you see this combination to really grow further beyond the two current incumbents, so to speak? The appeal is clear to me.
And I certainly hope so, for a very simple reason. Risk itself is contagious. If any of the company that does not manage their risk properly or does not mitigate their risk properly, it spreads to the entire ecosystem. Whether it causes problems for customers, it causes problems for suppliers, it causes problems for partners, and so on and so forth. And we can see that happening. I give you an example, cybersecurity. Many companies, big companies, large multinationals, they spend millions of dollars or even hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Securing their system, securing their platform. And they get compromised through third party that they're working with, purely because the third party are not securing themselves to the level of their clients, right? So if I were to take a generic look at risk, it is contagious. So if there are more law firms that are getting into tech or collaborating with technologies to be able to offer a one-stop solution to help the companies, the entire ecosystem to manage the risk better, I think it's a win for everybody.
Yes.
I think it's a win for everybody.
Well, we shall see. I think you guys are at the forefront, and we will be looking at this in a year from now. And perhaps there is really a much more crowded market, but right now it seems like there's only a few having had the courage to bring this tech side into the law firm's ecosystem, and I applaud you for this. Last part of our podcast, Raymond, that's the pricing and the implementation effort. Now, as you said, you are focusing on professional services, is not like an SaaS platform that comes down from the cloud and I just turn it on and tomorrow it's live. Maybe you can give us a little bit more insight. What time does it take to get Rajah Tann Technologies into a client relationship, and what are the pricing options that you guys offer?
Very good question. Well, because of the breadth of our offering, everything from cybersecurity to digital forensics to risk products and solutions to operations risk to help customers to manage their operations risk, and last but not least, training as well, right? Because human beings are one of the weakest link. If they are not aware of compliance, they're not aware of the risk, they become the risk, right? So, and we do have that, right? So because of that, it's very difficult to put a finger on the pricing. We do have rate cards across the board, but as a whole, I would say that we are targeting the mid-market pricing our pricing is suitable for mid-market. It's not just priced for multinationals who requires a lot of risk solutions and so on and so forth. Yes, their business are large, and because we are priced for mid-market companies with revenue anywhere between 10 million US dollars to and above, right? Certainly it'll be competitive, very competitive for large companies, and the mid-market companies will find us very competitive as well. So that's how we are priced.
And would you calculate it on an hourly rate, or is it a package with a flat fee depending upon the complexity that you forecast?
Again, let's say if I'm doing investigations, because it's quite open-ended, you'll be on an hourly rate, right? And the hourly rate is priced for mid-market. But if it's a solution like, well, you want to mitigate your anti-money laundering risk or third-party cybersecurity risk, we are able to provide a cap fee. That's not an issue.
Excellent. Hey, that was a very fast-moving 25-minute podcast. I really appreciated the opportunity to feature you, to talk to you, to listen to this amazing value proposition of legal and compliance services, as well as tech deployment, assessment, and risk management. With that, we come to the end of today's GOLT Talk podcast. Thank you very much, Raymond Lum, CEO of Rajah Tann Technologies, based in Singapore. It's been a pleasure talking to you. All the best. We'll stay in touch.
Thanks, Tom, for having me. I enjoyed the conversation very much.
Thank you so much, Raymond. Cheers. Bye.